Back up in the building, Fly Free Sports. Back with another basketball stream. And as always, I got Ben with me. What's up,
What's up,
Ben?
man? I'm
Yeah,
good, man. Good. Ready to talk. We ain't met like this in a minute, so I'm ready to get into this round ball.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Best basketball talk on the planet, man, right here. You already know what it is. Um,
Indeed.
it is tournament time.
Yes,
So
it is.
yes, this will be a college basketball edition of Fly Free Sports. Um, It's like I don't know about anybody else, and I'm not like the biggest college basketball fan in the world, but like when
Mhm.
college basketball, when the tournament is starting and when the tournament is going on,
Oh yeah.
the NBA to me is just like I kind of just see highlights. I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
really tune into NBA games while the college basketball. I don't know what it is. The games
Yeah.
are so crazy. It's so entertaining. It's like it's basketball overload.
There's so much going on all at one
Yeah.
time. There's just so many games happening. Um, it's such a phenomenon. For those who don't know, we know each other because I'm married to his sister, right? The year we got married, before we started, after we got engaged, before we planned the wedding, I specifically took 3 days off of work so that I could just go to a hotel and watch the entire first round of the tournament from beginning to end. So I checked in on a Thursday, watched or on a Wednesday night, watched all the games and just ordered food in for a whole weekend because I knew once I married your sister, I was probably never going to get a chance to do that again.
I gotta get it out of the system.
I got to get it out my system now. I'm just going to binge on basketball. So
Hey
yeah,
man,
it's a big deal. It's just, I've heard people say that those first 2 days are like the best 2 days of the year
man.
from a college basketball from a sports standpoint.
It's nothing like it, man. You're
Yeah.
you're guaranteed to see a couple buzzer beaters, a couple teams
Mhm.
win that's not supposed to win. Like it's crazy. And
Yep.
not for nothing. Don't tell nobody. I still binge watch all the games,
Mhm.
even with her being
Yeah.
here. So
I heard somebody say that this is the only time of the year where you see like lottery picks getting stomped out by like future accountants.
facts. That great analogy.
Like,
I'm using that.
damn, you ain't wrong though. You are not wrong.
You saw
Because though
Yale?
all those,
Yale
yeah,
did?
man, man, yeah. All of those dudes gonna have some really cool stories to tell when they're in going for their doctorates. They
Man,
become
it's
attorneys.
craziness, man. But that's his the season, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah. Yep.
But before we get into that, I couldn't help but notice last night your man Draymond
Oh man. Oh
back
god.
to his antics. You know what I mean? And for the first time, it looked like my boy Wardell was not too pleased with
Yeah.
him. Like he looked visibly irritated by what Draymond had going on. Like
when
he,
when when
my
all of
bad,
that
man.
happened, when that happened, that look that he had on his face was that look that Will was giving Jada when she was talking about the entanglement. that's that was the level of frustration, right? Or the look on Will's face after he slapped Chris Rock. That's probably a better analogy when he accepted the award and he was crying. Like that's you could tell Wardell in that moment was like,
Yeah,
I just want to slap this dude right now.
he
And I get
definitely.
it.
Yeah, man. He's definitely his patience is definitely running thin at this point. Like you could tell. Like,
Yeah.
that was the first time I actually saw because we used to always wonder, like, how does he feel about all this trouble Draymond gets into on the court and all the stuff he does? Does it really irritate him? Does it really get to him? And I think last night was
Mhm.
the first time we actually saw it. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's really no need to wonder anymore. But
Yeah. It's just things have things have reached a boiling point in Golden State. Um, Steph understands, I think he's what 34, 35 this year.
35.
Um, guards do not play into their 40s. That's not a thing. He knows the window's closing.
Mhm.
It's obvious that Klay Thompson has is past his peak.
Yep.
Draymond as well. And there's not a whole lot when you look at their bench, they've got a decent bench, but it's they're in a decline, right? And Steph knows that the end is near,
Mhm.
and not just that the from a career standpoint, his chances are getting thinner. The Rockets have won 10 games in a row, and they're
Yeah.
only 2 games behind Golden State. So Steph understands that when they play the Rockets in about a week or so, the winner of that game might actually determine who gets that 10th spot. And he
Mhm.
knows we gotta have all our guys, right? We can't be we can't be dealing with this right now. Like this is we're trying to get in the playoffs.
Right.
So even Steve Kerr was like, yeah, he deserved it. I'm like, damn, like they are sick of your shit.
Yeah.
They are done with you. This is your last year in Golden State. You will
Yeah,
not
this
be
is
playing.
it.
Yeah.
This is definitely it, man. But even saying all that, I still think they'll get it. I mean, Houston Rocket, they have Dylan Brooks on their team, so they're not going to the playoffs. It's over with. Like
Yeah,
no
they've got to
confidence.
play like 6 or 7 playoff teams in their last 10 games. So yeah, they've got an uphill climb.
Yeah. Like I mean
And
the
you know,
the
the
10,
Warriors end up winning that game. So,
yeah, they won. So I mean, all is forgiven, I guess, for the moment. But the Rockets 10 games in a row is that's impressive. That's real impressive,
yeah.
especially for this time of the year, knowing they have to get all of these games pretty much to even threaten for that 10 seed. But
Oh yeah.
so that's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah,
You
they got a
Joker got
big
them
win
boys
over
balling.
Cleveland. They got a big win over OKC. They had some signature wins during in the streak.
Yeah. So and just for entertainment's sake, I hope the Warriors hold on. I don't want to watch the Rockets in the playoffs or the play in. Like I don't want to see that. I'd much rather see my boy Wardell
Of
hitting
course.
threes, going crazy in the playoffs. Like that's what I
Yep.
want to see. Even if they don't win, I
Absolutely.
don't care.
Yep. Absolutely.
But yeah, I just had to get your take on that Draymond
Yeah.
because I know Draymond, yeah, that's your man. So you know what I mean.
I just there's so many things I like about him, but it's like, oh, Draymond, come on, man. He's like that one cousin or family member that just they could be so much more. If they just like stop drinking or stop smoking. Like you just it's just come on, man, get your life together.
Yeah, man. He's I don't know, man. Hall of Famer though, for what it's
Yeah,
worth.
perhaps, yeah. Not first ballot, but
Nah, nah, nah. But you never
down the
know.
line.
You never know these days,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Things crazy stranger things have happened.
man. But yeah, I mean, shout out to Draymond though. What up, Draymond? Um, like we said, man, college basketball, man, is going crazy right now. We're in the Sweet
Mhm,
16 at the moment. Um, interesting. I was I was looking at the teams remaining, and
mhm,
all four number one seeds are still in the tournament.
mhm. Yep.
And I had to look it up. So when I realized that, I looked it up and I saw I did the four number one seeds ever make the final four, and it happened one time in history
Mhm. Yep.
in 2008. So I just
Yep.
found that in me being like, I love the Cinderella stories.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
fun. It's the underdog. It's always cool to see the underdogs win. But just for this year, I would like to see all four number one seeds play in the final four. I want to
Yeah.
get to the bottom of this. I mean, me being a UConn fan, I want
Mhm.
us to play the best teams in the tournament. I want us to play a Houston or a Purdue or North Carolina. I want to see that. Like, I want to see the
Mhm.
heavyweights play. So hopefully all these teams can continue winning. I know we will. So I'm not worried about UConn.
Right.
We're gonna keep winning. We'll be there in the final four, but I do want to see those other three teams show up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely would be interesting. I think definitely be that would be newsworthy and something to watch if all four number one seeds made it. Um, I think Houston would probably be the most significant of those because there is this stigma around a mid-major having a one seed, and
Hmm.
their schedule was light because they're playing weaker competition, which is why their record's better.
Right.
But I think that Houston's path at this point to the Final Four, um, if they can make it past Duke, and then what I think the NC State Cinderella story is going to keep going,
Yeah,
If
DJ
they make it
Burn.
past, yeah, if they make it past those two teams, um, it's hard to argue against them winning it all if they can win those two games,
Ooh.
right? It's hard to argue against that. You talk about the amount of momentum that both of those teams are bringing into the tournament. North Carolina State, especially, like the ultimate Cinderella, trying to evoke that old Valvano magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of double digit seed, I believe they won the ACC tournament,
Yeah, they did.
um, which was the only way that they were going to get in. So
Crazy.
they're riding a wave right now. Um, I actually think they do get the win and go to the Elite Eight. Um,
Ooh.
and again, it's Houston is not is there's not a first of all, it's a Sweet 16, so there is no easy path for
Right.
any of these teams. Um, you're gonna have to stick it out. But having said that, I think what we've seen so far in the tournament, the performance of the number one seeds have been as strong as we've seen
Yes.
overall in a really long time.
Yes.
So I think there's definitely a shot of us seeing all four number one seeds to go. But to me, the most vulnerable one right now is Houston because they're looking at Duke and then potentially, a red hot NC State in the next round.
Yeah, if NC State can beat Marquette tomorrow, that's gonna turn into something crazy. They had that,
Oh yeah.
like you said, I think that momentum that they're on, that they have right now, winning, just coasting through the ACC tournament, and
Hmm.
if they can beat Marquette tomorrow, I think they're gonna go to the Final Four. I think they'll
Yep.
beat whoever they play in the Elite Eight.
Hmm.
Because at that
Yeah.
point, like it's like a train. It's just,
Hmm.
hey. But yeah, man, that's an interesting development with NC State. Illinois, that's a game tonight. Illinois and Iowa State.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know Terrence Shannon Jr. on Illinois.
Oh, you've been singing his praises.
Man, you got it, man.
Yeah.
Hey, that dude is a beast, man. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
every game, like he's on one of those waves like NC State is by himself, though. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy, man. So
Yeah.
and Iowa State is a very, very good defensive team. So tonight is going to be a very good game, man. I'm really
Hmm.
looking forward to that tonight.
Yeah.
By
It's
the
gonna.
time we wrap up the show, that'll be going on.
Yeah. We may have to wrap up early just so we can make it in time for that game.
Yeah, man. UNC and Alabama tonight. UNC gonna face a little trouble with Alabama. I think Alabama
Mhm.
is one of the top 5 like shooting teams in college basketball.
Yeah.
Um, they
Yeah.
shot
They
the
were.
fucking lid off and shot the roof off at home all season.
Yeah, they went over 100 in the first round of the tournament. Got past Grand Canyon. Yeah, those second round matchups when you got a Cinderella like that, I think people underestimate how hard it is to beat those teams.
Hmm.
Like they've just come off of 2 days before they've come off of a massive win when nobody expected them to win. They've got
Right.
all of that energy and momentum they're taking into that next game, and that's a really hard wave to overcome, right? Like
Yeah.
it didn't have 3 or 4 days for them to cool off or tighten up. Like
Right. Just a
they
day
still
in
got the
between.
same they still got the same sweat on them from the last game, right? Like
Yep.
so that's very difficult to do that. They were able to get past them. Yeah, like you said, UNC, um, they've been in the tournament. Their play has been a little bit inconsistent at times.
Yep.
They think they dug a big hole for themselves against Michigan State. Had to pull themselves out of it. They pulled away in the second half. So that's their path. I think is pretty rough as well. I think initially I actually had Arizona coming out of that bracket because I felt like
Arizona is actually
they were.
they're down right now.
Yeah, now I see that their Clemson is beating them. So it's like, well, I don't know. It's gonna be a rocky road. I think those the two brackets we just talked about. I think those are the ones that I'm the least sure about in terms of the Final Four entrant. But for me, UConn and Purdue have been kind of the big bears from the beginning. Those are in my opinion, the two real juggernauts in this tournament. I don't see I don't see them having a whole lot of trouble getting to the Final Four, right? I think those are runaway trains in their brackets. So that's how I see it. But again, this is why we play the games, right?
Right. And San Diego State is making it a little interesting right now with us, but I think,
Mhm.
we're gonna pull away eventually. Like
Yeah.
I don't see them being able to score as consistently as they would need to win this game. I don't see it.
Yeah. Plus, like, Hurley is gonna personally whip their asses if they
Man,
lose, right? Like,
man.
with a belt. Like, he's gonna bend them over with a belt and whip their asses.
Yeah, Hurley don't play that shit at all. We were up, what was it, the first game of the tournament, we were up like 30 at the half, and he was pissed in the interview. Like, the halftime interview, he was pissed. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah. If y'all don't know about the Hurleys, like, it starts with their dad, right? And in high school, playing
Mhm,
coaching high school ball. And then, of course, Bobby Hurley was a legend at Duke.
mhm.
Yeah, the Hurleys, they're like basketball royalty, right? Like, you don't play about round ball with the Hurley family, right? They take their basketball very seriously.
That they do. Yeah, another interesting matchup is Creighton and Tennessee tomorrow. Tennessee, great defensive team.
Hmm.
Creighton, they got the tall boy, Kalkbrenner, the white boy.
Hmm. Yep.
Alexander, the mid-range guard. I mean, because I watch a lot of Big East basketball, so I'm familiar with Creighton.
Hmm.
And Tennessee, I'm kind of pissed off at them because I bet on them in the SEC tournament and they got their ass whooped. So I'm kind of in my feelings about them. So I hope Creighton wins tomorrow for the Big East and for me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. Uh, I'm just not a fan of SEC basketball. I think that's what it boils down to. Like, I don't want to watch
Yeah.
SEC basketball. I watch SEC football. I don't watch SEC basketball.
Yeah. I mean, SEC basketball has in the last at least the last 30 years has been Kentucky and Florida, end of article.
Yeah,
Um so yeah, disdain for SEC basketball is going to lean back to disdain for those two teams and just the lack of depth that you see across that division in general.
hmm
It's a football division, like everybody knows that. Um, and ACC has always been the basketball division, right? And even despite recent success that those football teams have had, we know when it gets to basketball time, you're looking at Duke, UNC, NC State. These are household names when it comes to brackets. And these are names you see all the time when you're filling brackets out.
right. Yeah, yeah. So, um, I think, well, obviously, I know Connecticut's gonna win the championship. Go back to back.
He knows, y'all. He knows.
I mean, if you look at just how we've been winning these games, we talking about even back to last year. We haven't won a game in the tournament under 13 points yet. By 13, under 13 points yet.
Mhm.
That's that's insane. Like,
Yeah.
the margin of victory is just crazy. Um, Tonight they're making it interesting, but like I said, we'll probably pull away in the second half. Not really too concerned. But yeah. So, but who do you have ultimately winning the tournament?
It's again, if Houston manages to get past Duke and what I think will be NC State, I don't really see them losing. But I also don't see them getting past both of those teams.
Mm,
Um, like I said, the Houston bracket and the UNC bracket, those are to me the most unsure paths. I think is going to ultimately come down to, I think UConn's not going to have much of an issue. They're going to make it in for sure. I'm still going to go with Arizona to come out of the West region. So you got UConn, Arizona, Purdue's. I'm very confident they're going to win Midwest, and then with the South, I think I, I'm just going to pick a dark horse to say the NC State's going to ride that momentum all the way to the
damn.
Final Four.
Wow.
I think they're capable. They're just so this they are the hottest team in college basketball right now. I mean, it's hard to argue against that. Um,
Yeah.
just based on the wins that they have had their path the last 8 or so games. Like it's they're on an absolute tear.
And
So I
boy,
think you've got. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I got you. Got it.
So NC State, Purdue, UConn, and Arizona. That's my final four. I see UConn and Purdue playing in a championship. Um, as much as I would love to see kind of a new face, a new kid on the block, relatively Purdue take it all, it's hard to argue against UConn, man. It's just how consistently their play has been all season. How easily they've been able to kind of handle the competition.
Hmm.
They're under physical threat from Dan Hurley. Like, I would never want to lose a game if I played for him, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I got UConn cutting the nets down.
Interesting enough, I didn't even realize until I just pulled it up. I did, you know how they do the bracket challenge or whatever.
Hmm.
My final four is still intact.
Oh wow.
I had UConn, Arizona, Houston, Tennessee,
Okay. Okay.
with UConn playing Houston in the championship. So I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
Uh that's the I guess that's the final four I picked. I had
Yep.
to pull it up just to see. I hadn't looked at it since I lost all them damn games. I wasn't even but my final four is still intact. So
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah. There you go.
um, but yeah, I just think we're the most balanced team in the country. Offensively, defensively. Cam Spencer, great shooter. Alex
Mhm.
Caravan, great shooter. Tristan Newton is, Big East Player of the Year. Well, he should have been Big East Player of the Year. They gave it to the boy from Providence, but Tristan
Mhm.
Newton should have been. Castle, lottery pick.
Yep.
We got a lot of guys. Donovan Clingan, 7'2". Anytime you have that 7'2" guy or 7-foot guy in college, it's gonna be a
Mhm.
problem. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I know college is more guard orientated,
Mhm.
but those centers are invaluable.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so we just got a lot of balance, and on top of that, like you said, Danny Hurley is just Danny Hurley.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
we're just a runaway train, man. Um, I just don't see anybody. Houston, that game concerns me. I'm not gonna lie, because I have watched a lot of Houston this year.
Mhm.
So I think that'll probably be the first game where we got to sweat it out until the end. Because that boy
Yeah.
Jamal Shed by himself is just a handful.
Mhm.
Um, Houston is dangerous. I'm not gonna lie, but I think we could get the job done, and I am picking us to win the championship back to back, first back to back since what Florida in what year was that?
What was that? 06, 07, I think it was.
Something like that. Yeah, with Joakim Noah in there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I got us winning, and that's that, man.
Cool.
Um, so I did want to get your opinion since we on college basketball, man.
Mhm. Yep.
And I know this is where you thrive, man, because I know I respect your opinion on these things.
Mhm.
Um, what are your top who are your personal
Mhm.
top 3 players in college basketball history?
When you texted me this earlier today, I was like, "Damn, that's difficult to answer because there's so
Mhm.
right." So then I had to start figuring out, okay, what are my filters going to be? What am I going to filter for? And as I started to kind of do a little research on this, I realized there are players that probably should be on this list that may technically have been better players, but because they only play 1 year in college, it's impossible for me to gauge 1 year against a whole college career, right? So I already said that I was going to narrow my list to players that played 3 or 4 years, right? 3 or 4, they had a long college career. But that still leaves a lot of guys out. Obviously, anybody after like 2010 is like ineligible at this point, right? Like, it's just okay. There's no point in looking past a certain year. But
Right.
as you look back, I'm like, okay, who were who won most outstanding player of the Final Four? Who were the guys that were won like the Naismith Player of the Year? Who won national championships? Right, all the typical criteria that you look at and where things intersect. And so based on that, I've come up with 3 names, but I put one person in here that I think is just an exception to some of those rules I talked about because because they're just such a transcendental college player. So I get into that. So my number 3 probably no surprise to people who know who my team is Christian Leitner. Um, Everybody hates Christian Leitner. We've talked about him at length on this show,
Yeah,
for very good reasons. He has given people lots of good reasons to hate him. But he has 4 Final Four appearances, which literally cannot be beaten. Like no one would ever beat that record.
crazy.
I believe he was a 2-time AP All American, 2-time champion, and he is the most critical part of one of the most iconic moments in tournament history. We talk about March Madness, that turnaround jumper against Kentucky.
Yeah,
That exists in the pantheon of college basketball moments of all time,
we've
right?
seen that shot so many times.
Yeah, it's just like, it's that shot. When you think of, buzzer beaters in March Madness history, that's on your list, right?
Yep.
Because he was that dude, right? He was just that dude. So he's my number 3. My number 2, this is the guy that I made exceptions because he didn't win a championship. I think he was voted. I think he did get Player of the Year in some of the polls, but he did not win a championship. But nobody knew that the Indiana State Sycamores even existed as a team
Larry Joe.
had it not been for Larry Legend. Like this, just when you think about this man growing up in Indiana, recruited very heavily by the University of Indiana, who was the juggernaut. And you talk about 1970s
Oh yeah.
basketball, it's UCLA and Indiana and no one else, right? Um,
Hmm.
he decided that he wanted to go his own way and become a legend and pull the ultimate underdog team to the top, right? Indiana State went to a Final Four like that because of him. Like you will never be able to name anybody else to play on that team, right?
Right.
They are all like, all of them are like accountants now.
I
Like
was just about to say, like you said earlier, them accountants we was just talking about.
they all sell insurance now. Like you don't know any of those guys' names. But and had not for Magic Johnson, Larry Bird wins the championship that year, right? But
Hmm.
Magic Johnson was just that dude. He was just a little bit better that day. So my number 2 is Larry Bird. And the number 1, um, 4-year player. I believe he has 3 or 4 championships. I didn't check this. Um, when the league changes a rule to try to slow you down, you have to be considered the GOAT, right? And of course, I'm talking about Lou Alcindor, also now known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The league they banned dunking for an entire season to try to stop how dominant this man was. And that's what led to him like developing the hook shot. Like
Hmm.
when they change a rule for you're the GOAT. Like they're hands down, there's no question, there's no there's no argument or debate. The entire
None.
league change how we play basketball, the most exciting part of basketball, to try to stop one person. So yeah, my list is number 3, Christian Leitner, 2, Larry Bird, 1, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Impressive, man. Yeah, that's that. I mean, how can you argue against it?
Yep. I
Especially with
invite you
Christian
to
Leitner.
argue against it.
I mean, I'm just gonna name mine. I ain't because you brought up an interesting point about guys, 1 year players, and it's kind of hard to pick them over guys that put that work in over 3 or 4 years.
Mhm.
Um, but that's exactly what I did because I kind of went with guys, at least for my first 2, I went with guys that I seen personally,
Okay.
and they were just flat out dominant in their short time in
Mhm.
college. So at number 3, this is probably going to be a surprise to a lot of people, but Michael Beasley.
Okay.
I
Kansas
mean,
State, right?
Kansas State, Michael
Mhm.
Beasley, man. I'm
Yep.
talking about this man played 33 games in his college career. 28 of them were double doubles.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That's putting in
20
work. That's 40 minutes, y'all. In case y'all forgot, there's only 40 minutes in a basketball game in college.
3 40-point games.
Mhm.
What, like 4 30 and 10 games. Uh, it's like just dominant. 26 and 12 average for the year. Nobody could do it. If he had any kind of help on that team,
Mhm.
they would have been a
Yeah.
juggernaut
Mhm.
because he was just flat out dominant, man. He was like the first guy I looked at, like, damn, I know he going number one, and obviously he didn't go number one because Derrick Rose came out the same year and went number one. Beasley went number two,
Mhm.
but Michael Beasley was a monster, man. Inside, outside.
Mhm.
I thought he was gonna be a star in the NBA. Fooled me, but you know, he was still a
Sometimes
productive
okay.
player. He was still
Yep.
productive.
Yep.
But the way he looked in college, I was like, yo, this nigga's next. Like, he gotta be a top 5 player in the NBA. But it didn't work out that way. I know he was battling a lot of mental issues and
Yeah.
family things and stuff like that. So that probably contributed to him not reaching his ceiling. But nonetheless, man, he was a completely dominant college basketball player.
Oh yeah.
Um, so Michael Beasley is my number 3. Um, and yeah, like I said, my first two only 1 year apiece, and you know where I'm going. The 1 year that really counted in Syracuse,
Oh yeah. Yep.
Carmelo
y'all know
Anthony,
y'all know his name.
the Mellow Man, Hoodie Mellow, whatever
Yep.
you want to call him. Carmelo, man, I remember back when they played I think it was Texas in the Final Four. They played Texas in the Final Four, they played Kansas in the championship. I got that whole Final Four on tape just cuz I wanted to see Melo and have that memory. And I put a lot of people on the Carmelo. Like, I was on the Carmelo early, like
Mhm.
early, like Oak Hill days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when he went to Syracuse and just ran through college basketball for that 1 year, to me, it was just like, yo, I need him to be the number one pick. Now, again, obviously, he wasn't going to
Right.
be the number one pick because LeBron James was there. But yeah, man. What can you say about Carmelo? He had Jerry McNamara on his team. Hakeem Ward was another sleeper on that team.
Mhm.
Um, I just enjoy watching Carmelo play that jab step, big body. I'm
Yeah.
gonna score another inside, outside, post moves, footwork, you name it. Carmelo did it. Um,
Yeah. He was a grown man out there playing with boys. He
yeah,
really
like
was.
he looked like a fucking hybrid. Like,
Mhm.
nobody should be that fat and quick at the same time. He was a little slimmer in college, but
Yeah.
he was, like you said, he was just a man amongst boys, man.
Mhm.
Um, Carmelo was he was a force. 20. Look, what he average? What he average? Pull up his average. Yeah, 22 and 10.
Mhm.
Easy money.
Yeah. Yeah. He was that dude.
Easy money for Carmelo, and shooting 45% from the floor, which in college is pretty good.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Um, so Carmelo number 2, man, championship. Can't argue against the championship. 1 year, but you got a ring out of it.
Yep.
So number 2, Carmelo, and for number 1, I had to take it back. Of course, we just talked about him last show because Caitlin Clark broke his record. Pistol Pete
Mhm.
Maravich, my number
Okay.
1.
Yep.
No, like they said, no threes. I'm gonna use that argument for him this time. No threes. This
Yep.
man averaged 44 points a game for 3 seasons.
Mhm. Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't even think anything else needs to be said. Like,
Right.
Pistol Pete, just an amazing player, another great ball handler, shooter. You name it, man. Like,
Yeah.
I remember my first memory of Pistol Pete was seeing he had like a little training videos, like an instructional videos teaching kids how to dribble. And shit. I was like, who this white boy with this handle like this? So I had to look him up. Like, he was
Yeah.
old at the time. Like, he was older.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like my first like introduction to Pistol Pete. And I had to go back and look at his highlights and watch some games and see some film. But yeah, he was a monster too, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. For those who don't know, Pete Maravich died suddenly of heart failure. Like I think 10 or 15 years after he retired.
Hmm.
And it was learned that he basically had like half a heart or something. Like he had some type of massive heart defect. where he wasn't expected to live like like even like to like 20 or 30 years old because of how
Mhm.
severe it was. So all of that stuff he was doing, he was playing with a bad heart like all those years.
That's
Like
wild.
it's just like he literally was just like a miracle, like just impossible stuff with him.
Damn.
So, yeah, it's crazy. His whole story and like everything that happened with that is just wild.
That's wild. Um, yeah, so that concludes my top 3, man. I didn't go so much with the experience, as you can see, but the guys that I named were super impactful. And Ben went with the legends, like
Yeah.
the guys that were there 4 years, put the work in, won championships.
Yeah, I think it's always a great, first of all, it's a great question. And for me, it's I'm perfectly fine with you arriving at a different list than me because you're looking at different criteria,
Right,
and you define things slightly different, but the justification there is always sound, right? Because
right.
and there's if you had another person on here, they might have put like Glenn Robinson on that list or Patrick Ewing or
Mhm.
Jason Williams.
Right,
Right. There's so many players that you could put on a list like
right,
that. And but it's not really so much about okay, who do you really like, but what's your justifications around
right,
calling them the best, So like individual college performances, it's really hard to argue against anybody on your list in terms of individual college performances, right?
right.
So, it's a valid list.
Yeah. I probably would have, like you said, it wasn't a lot of team success other than Carmelo.
Hmm.
And like I said, I tried to kind of go with the guys that I watched for the majority of it.
Yep.
I didn't get to watch Pistol Pete, but
Right.
um, I tried to go with the guys that I saw when I was younger that kind of like influenced me to watch college basketball more. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so that's pretty much how I arrived at that list. So we're gonna do this real quick, right?
All right.
Who was your 3? Who was your third person
For what?
on your list? Who was number
Oh,
3?
number three was Christian Leitner.
Christian Laettner versus Michael Beasley, 1v1.
Oh, Beasley cooks him. Beasley cooks him. Like cooked, 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 bro, cooked. Christian Leitner,
Uh,
no, cooked.
no explanation needed.
No explanation.
Who was your
Larry
2?
beats anybody on your list. Larry Bird beats anybody on
Larry
your list.
Bird versus Carmelo 1-on-1?
Yeah, Larry Bird. Larry wins that. Larry wins. I was thinking about this
Ooh.
last night. I was thinking about this
Woo.
actually today when you asked the question. I'm like, okay, if it was Larry Bird versus Michael Jordan playing just one on one in a gym, there would never be an official winner to that game. Because both of those guys are not going to stop playing that game until they win, right? Now, whenever they collapse from exhaustion because they refuse to stop playing, Michael Jordan will have more points, but Larry is not going to stop. He's not going to
No, it's not.
concede defeat, right?
Larry
And
Joe,
that's
man.
yeah, dude. And that so you talk about one-on-one matchups. The only player I would consider beating Larry Bird in his prime is Michael Jordan. I
So
don't think anyone else can beat.
you don't think Melo put them in the post, like banging them up, pause?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be well. First of all, when you talk about physicality,
Melo's so strong, man.
but you lean into Larry's strengths when you talk about physicality, especially we talk about the era that he played in, right?
Hmm.
Larry was a physical player, right? Yeah, he had a finesse jump shot, great, one of the greatest shooters of all time, but Larry was a physical player. Um,
Yes, he
size
was.
is there a size mismatch? Yeah, Carmelo's a lot bigger, but Larry's
Larry
got
got
that
that height.
stroke, man.
Yeah,
Larry's
man.
got that stroke. Like it's
And
just
we know Carmelo not the best defender either. Like, so it's not
yeah,
like he about to just stop Bird.
yeah. It's
So
just
I
you
mean,
the will to win. I think people underestimate the will to that killer instinct. And no dissing Carmelo. Carmelo is a killer, but Larry is that next level assassin. Like it's just like there's there's levels of even like your killers, and Larry is in that top echelon of like absolute killers.
he is. He definitely is. I can't disagree one bit. I'm taking Carmelo though.
Okay. All right. Hey.
Nah, I'm playing. Larry Bird probably take him out of there. Like that's one of them games where like if I don't know, man. I think Carmelo just can't miss, man. You just can't miss.
Right.
No miss.
Exactly. Yeah. Whoever misses more shots loses. It's not who stops who. It's who
Yeah,
misses more shots.
yeah,
If you're looking at who misses more shots, Carmelo misses more shots.
yeah. Facts. You're right. You absolutely right. And the last one, I don't even know if that's possible. Lou Alcindor and Pistol Pete Maravich.
Yeah.
Neither one
That
of them is guarding neither one of
yeah, that's very impractical to really
them.
think about. I don't even know if we could argue that.
Right. There's no argument.
I mean, what argument you could make is okay if you give them if you're playing 505 and you give them four equally talented guys from like your local LA Fitness, which team would win?
Kareem's team.
Kareem's team wins. Yeah. Just because those guys from LA Fitness ain't got they can't do nothing with no
Yeah,
7 feet.
you're not guarding that, man. Hell no.
So yeah, it's hard to say again. You go with yeah, Kareem held the championships, but also those UCL teams were stacked, right? There was a
Right.
lot of talent on those teams. Um, so I think if I'm not mistaken, Bill Walton either redshirted or came in the year after Kareem's last year. So John Wooden just had, he wasn't rebuilding, he was reloading, right?
Hmm.
In the 70s. So but Pistol Pete again, one of those unicorns, right? Just one of those one of a kind type guys that's
Hmm.
just out of this world.
Facts. Yeah, man. So yeah, can't. I just had to get your opinion on that. Since it is, like I said, tis the season, man. College
Oh
basketball is
yeah.
in full effect. Tournament time. Like I said, we gonna get out of here so we can watch some games. But real quick though,
Mhm.
um, are you still sticking with your pick of Milwaukee winning the NBA championship?
Damn, I picked Milwaukee.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
So the answer is no. Basically, is what you said.
No, they've been too inconsistent, especially down the stretch. They've been been a very average team down the stretch.
All right. So who's your
Um,
replacement team? You get one replacement. Who your replacement team to win the championship?
Based on what we've
Them
seen so
against the
far,
field. This team, whatever you say, against the field.
it's the Celtics. It's the Celtics. They're the team to beat, in my opinion.
Okay.
Now, having said that, the Nuggets have absolutely been surging.
They have.
And I think they made it to the top spot again.
They,
So they're
they are.
peaking at the right time.
After all that, we talked the whole season about them just kind of like
Yep.
chilling, and all of a sudden they pop up in first place. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
crazy.
Yep. 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 They're
But
peaking at the right time.
they are. They definitely are. It's coming close to playoff time.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but for the record, I am sticking with Milwaukee. I think they'll get their shit together in the playoffs.
Okay.
And still I'm sticking with it, man. I'm sticking with it. Like I'm kind of nervous about it because they
Yeah.
don't seem to be cohesive. It's kind of I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't pinpoint it. Obviously, they don't play too good a defense. And I don't trust Doc Rivers. And then when we made the picks originally, Doc Rivers was not the coach. So
Right. Yep.
we didn't take any of that into account.
So you fucking up, man. You
Yeah, but
you
this is just me sticking with my guns because I believe in
all right.
Giannis and Dame. I believe in Giannis and
All right.
Dame, and I believe in the supporting cast. But
Yeah.
Doc Rivers and the other bullshit that's going on, like I don't know.
See, that's what I'm
But
saying. Like, I trust Jason Tatum more than Doc Rivers, right? Like, but that
rightfully
not
so.
by a lot, not by a whole lot.
It's tough. It's tough, man. But yeah, I'm sticking with him, man. And fuck, I really think Denver is going to win the championship. But just for me to make myself feel
Mhm.
better, I'm sticking with the Bucks. I think
Yeah,
Denver's going to win it.
it's like Ric Flair said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Whoever wins the championship, if it's not Denver, will have to beat Denver. It goes through them for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be a great playoffs. I'm really looking forward to We have a lot of new faces, new players. The Pacers and Halliburton have been playing extremely well. The
Hmm.
Cavs, they've, in my opinion, been kind of overachieving in terms of where people thought they would be. The
They
Knicks
definitely
have
are.
been surging with Jalen Brunson. That's a very interesting story. I think they just took over the third spot. They just leapfrog over the Cavs,
Hmm.
um, which is huge because the more that you can put off playing Boston, the better it is for you, right? So being able to get
Right.
into a third slot is an easier playoff path. Um, like I said, we've seen the surge of the Nuggets going on. OKC has remained very steady in terms of their play, although
Hmm.
neither of those teams are getting anywhere near as much media coverage as the Lakers and the Warriors, who both of those teams are not making the playoffs. One of them will be eliminated in the play-in, possibly both.
That's the
So
crazy thing. Like now that you say that, it's like those two teams have been playing teams the entire year, and
yes,
they get
that's right.
way more coverage than Minnesota and OKC, who's been at the top the whole year. That shit is crazy.
Yeah, and it's some of it is small market bullshit.
Right.
That's going to happen with a league like this. Um, and and also their superstars. They're not transcendental in terms of the marketing machines that they are, right? Like when you see like things for the NBA, you see like Jason Tatum on like NBA advertisements, right? You
Hmm.
see stills of Giannis. Even Dame has been getting like a lot of like media attention and like press. They use his images to promote the league. Jokic is not being pushed as hard.
No.
Now part of it is being European, but Luca is getting more love than Jokic is by far from a press and marketing the league standpoint.
Hmm.
Um, so, and then nobody knows who Shea Gilgeous Alexander is except me and you in terms of like the caliber of player he is
Right.
to the ratio of attention that he's getting.
Hmm.
But a young scrappy team can use that as fuel, right? That they're the underdogs, nobody's paying attention to them, and we're just over here grinding away doing our thing. Pause. Uh, especially with they got some players on their team that might have been involved in some shenanigans. So yeah, so we got to be extra careful with your adjectives when we're talking about the Thunder. So just want to put
Yeah.
that out there.
Yeah. But you know who the fan favorite is? Like they're really showing that the people's champ is Anthony Edwards. I don't know if you've been noticing, but they're like really trying to make a push for him to be the face of the league. Like that
Yeah,
campaign has definitely started.
yeah,
Um, People love Anthony Edwards. I don't know what it is, but they put him over damn near everybody. Like if you ask somebody Anthony Edwards or this player, it's gonna be Anthony Edwards 9 times out of 10. People love Anthony Edwards. And not that he's a very good player, like and he's gonna get better. But
mhm,
I think that everybody's just looking so hard for that next face of the league. That's a black American player
yeah,
that they're kind of
yeah,
like pushing him to the forefront. And you already know how I feel about that because when my man come back next year, it's gonna be a problem. But we'll
yeah,
save that for another time. But that's the guy they're pushing though.
yeah, yeah. It's Minnesota was in the one seed for a long time, so I can kind of understand why they want to create some type of justification from a marketing standpoint for pushing him forward. But I'm like, is he even the best player on his own team? Like,
Barely.
is it
He
is
is,
it
but
like
barely.
is it a consensus? Like, are we sure?
Like yeah, like he is, but barely. And then
Yeah.
like you ask these niggas if you like is he a top 10 player? They'll say yeah, and he's not a top 10 player right now. I can
No,
easily name 10 players better than Anthony Edwards right now.
if you're
It's
not
not
the
even hard.
consensus number one player on your team, there's no way you could be considered a top 10 player. It's impossible. It's like, no. You can't. By
Like
that definition alone, you can't be top 10.
like even players I don't like Joel Embiid and Jason Tatum, I'd take them over Anthony Edwards right now.
Yeah, those are two animals you just mentioned. Like, those are beasts.
Like
Yeah, this yeah. So there's
LeBron,
Jokic, there's Luca, LeBron. He's still playing at a high level.
yeah,
Giannis is a top 10 player.
SGA.
Yeah. And we've named what, 8 right there?
That, right? Yeah, that's it.
Yep. So you can make an argument for Kyrie in there as well in terms of just his impact to the
Yep.
team and all that. So yeah, I mean,
Ja Morant. Sorry, guys. Ja Morant is better than Anthony Edwards.
yeah, no disagreements here. No disagree. I just, and there's still time for him to take his place from a potential standpoint. The the
Hmm.
clock the clock is nowhere near over, right? He's got a long career ahead of him.
Yeah, man.
So I'm hoping that, you know, once he returns, he gets healthy, gets his health on track, starts to kind of rebuild his reputation, get all the shenanigans behind him. He's gonna need another head coach.
Yeah. Taylor Jenkins,
And
man, you're out of here.
yeah, yeah,
Hit
he's
the
gonna need
fucking
another head
bricks,
coach.
pal.
Got a good young core. Needs probably one more piece to really like pursue and seize those championship opportunities. So
I thought
so a
about
lot
this.
needs to be done, but yeah.
I thought about this, man.
All right.
What if we draft Zach Edey? We do need a big
Okay.
man. And I don't know if he necessarily fits our system, but we do need a big man. We don't have a big man outside of Jaren Jackson, and I don't really consider he shoots a lot of threes, very finesse,
Yeah.
So we talked about him ad nauseum. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would like for us to take a center.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what DeMontis Sabonis's contract situation is, but if you could
He just
land
I
somebody
think he
like
just
that,
resigned.
okay, so he's not on the table. But I'm like, that's to me, that's like an ideal piece that you want to add
Yeah,
to a
Sacramento ain't let
roster
him
like
go
that.
nowhere. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. So but yeah, I think yeah. So I mean, there's pieces out there, like you said. Drafting a big man is never a bad idea when you have such a guard oriented team like that.
Hmm.
But the thing is, you need a head coach. You need another head coach that's going to install a system that's going to play to Josh strengths. That's and you have to
Yeah.
build around that, right? So
Hmm. Yeah, and I don't even have any ideas as to who. And people keep calling for Mark Jackson to get all these gigs, but I think the NBA is probably passed him by, unfortunately, because he's a good coach.
yeah, and we know that there's a boys club when it comes to this stuff,
Yep.
and whatever. Clearly, there was some type of he didn't see eye to eye with the Warriors management, which is why he got pushed
Hmm.
out. It wasn't because of the team's performance. Team won a championship the next year, and
Right.
Steve Kerr. It's not like Steve Kerr came in and like overhauled their system. They were
Right.
playing roughly the same system that they had when he was there, right? And it really hasn't changed that much from well. It's changed for the worse, in my opinion, because they used to play defense and now they don't really play that anymore.
That is
Um,
literally the John Gruden, Tony Dungy. That is
yeah,
the same damn thing that
yeah,
happened.
yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, these are a lot of big ifs that are out there. Um, but then you have to think about what's going to motivate a coach to come to Memphis and play. I think Ja is great motivation in general, but it's a small market. The fans seem to be supportive of the team, but it's
Good fan
just
support.
this it's just tough. It's hard to go into a small market like that and and try to it's not full rebuild, but clearly the team is trying to rise out of ashes right now. Like
Right.
it's just hard, and so your seasoned coaches probably are going to take a job like that. So you're probably going to take a flyer on like a young up and coming coach that's got some good assistant coaching experience.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't
I
mind at
don't know
all.
who that would be, but there's plenty of great basketball minds. It's just a
You know who
matter
we could
of
get? We could get Sam Cassell.
his name came to mind when I was just talking about that. So yeah, but I mean, again, these are a lot of big stretches. But again, we kind of we did some prognostication on potential changes that they can make in terms of getting rid of Dylan Brooks, and it happened. Like
Yeah.
it came true. Like, oh shit,
Yeah. I
that
mean,
somebody else thinks what we think.
the writing was on the wall for him. Like that nigga had to go. There was no
Yeah,
way he could have stayed in Memphis. Like
he
he had to
he
go.
he had that Draymond funk on him. Like, oh no, man,
Yeah,
nah,
horrible.
nigga, we done with you.
Yeah, he had to go, man. Every time I hear his name, I just get pissed. But
I just love how much he trolls LeBron. It's so great, man. Like you, dude, you really are Vegeta out here. You are Vegeta out here.
Dylan Brooks. I can't wait to see Dylan Brooks on these podcasts. You know how the players be on podcasts
Oh
now.
shit. Oh yeah.
Whoever get
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks first is gonna be hilarious.
Oh
Like
man,
the
that's
shit that
that's
they gonna
great.
ask him alone is just like it's must see TV. But
Hilarious.
yeah.
It's like,
Before go ahead.
go ahead. Oh, you go ahead.
I was gonna say before we wrap it up, my boys are up. If that three go down, no, it didn't go down. We up 51-37, man. 13 minutes left. Connecticut is up. Man, that's what we do. That's what we do in Connecticut, man. It's the only team we
Yeah.
got. So,
No,
that shit is like a way of life up there. You know what I mean?
yeah, Clemson's got Arizona on the ropes. It's a 7-point game with 4 minutes to go. So
Yeah, I'm gonna catch
yeah,
the end of that one.
for sure. Well, cool,
But
man. Great show.
yes, sir. Abbreviated show tonight. Ben with me as always. Special college basketball edition tonight. Fly Free Sports. We back. We better. We will be back again either next week or the week after. We don't know. Schedules permitting. Like, share, subscribe, all the above. And we out. Another Thursday night.